Hello, this is Gareth from the iMoot team. It is my great pleasure to introduce Paula Clough, who is going to be talking about inspired uses of the Choice Moodle module. Thank you for putting the presentation together, your time, and looking forward to what you have to say and show us and interact with. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you, Gareth. It's a very big pleasure to be here. This is the second year I've presented at the iMoot, and I have attended two others as well. I really get excited about this. I am a retired teacher, quote unquote retired, and but I haven't retired from Moodle. I'm still working and trying to find ways to help people with Moodle and to find out more about it myself. I'm also a volunteer on freemoodle.org. If you haven't seen that website, you might want to take a look at it. It's a wonderful place. The objectives for today is to work with the choice module, and I'm going to show you how to set it up and introduce a variety of uses for the choice. And then also one of my objectives when I was first starting using Moodle is I found that I was using everything in very narrow ways, and when I started looking at the modules, I found out that there was a whole lot of different ways that I could use them. So part of my objective is to get you in the habit of seeing different kinds of uses for your Moodle modules. One question, we don't have very many people in here, but I would like to know if you have used Moodle much at all. Moodle Choice much at all. If you could just give me a little bit of information in the chat how much you've used Moodle Choice. Maybe even an idea of one of the things that you've done with it if you have used it. Okay, so we do have, some of us have used it, some. And Stuart says he uses it just for feedback. Okay. Well, we do have some people who haven't used it very much, so we are going to go over how to set one up and some of the basics. And then we're going to go over some ideas. A lot of these ideas have been incorporated into the documentation on Moodle.org. Some of the ideas have. Back in 2010, I had started a forum post about creative uses for the choice because I was doing a presentation at a local technology workshop, and a lot of those ideas have been very nicely incorporated into the documentation. I'm really glad to see that. But there's some others there that have been shared with from other people, and some that I've helped some of the teachers that I worked with before develop. Okay, the features for the choice are, if you haven't used it before, is that this does not go into the gradebook. This is totally independent of the gradebook. You have only one question for each choice that you develop, but you can have many different answers, and you can display them either vertically or horizontally. With younger users, I almost always display them vertically because the students get confused when things start running together. They need it to look more like a test. And you can choose whether you want the students to be able to update it so that they can show differences in their learning or something like that over time. You can also publish the results so that the students can see them either before they make their choice, after they make their choice, or when the choice is closed. Or you can make it anonymous where you don't show their names at all and it's still published, or you cannot publish it and then only you as the teacher sees the actual data. Another really great feature is a column for unanswered, so that you have a listing of all of the students who haven't yet answered the choice. This is really helpful when you have something that is really essential that everybody answers. Then you don't have to keep going through your list to see who's answered and who hasn't. And also you can download the results. This is really nice sometimes if you want to get the results where you can have them on a piece of paper, or you can play with them in Excel and do some different kinds of graphs there. Some newer features: if you have 2.8 or above, you can now choose more. You can set it up to choose more than one answer, and I'll show you some samples where that's really helpful. Also in 2.9, if you set up a start date for the students, you can also allow them to preview it ahead of time. So if it's something that they need to do some research on or some thinking about before they answer, you can give them that ability. Also, you can exclude or include active or suspended users in the class and the choice. This might be helpful if you have some students that have been inactivated or suspended, and you want to just take those out. If they're still showing in the class, if they've answered it, they're going to be included in your data. Yeah, I'm really excited about the multiple answers. There's some things that I was doing with it that are going to be so much easier if I ever get a chance to do them again. Okay, to begin with, for those of you who haven't used it before, this is like a quick poll. You can use it to stimulate thinking about a topic. You can quickly test students' understandings of just a single topic. You can also use it for things that the students need to show you that they have read. That's okay, Christina, just come on in and join us. Or agree to. Now I made this because I'm one of those people, when I start with a new module or something like that, I want to read a little bit about it, kind of find out about it, and then I get in there and dig around and figure out how to do different things and do experiments until I figure it out. But I've worked with some people that prefer to have a list of the things they need to think about before they actually start, and that's what this is. I just included it because it was helpful in getting people organized, and then I'll use it for our example that we're going to make. The one that we're going to do is the agreement, and this is from a forum post in 2006 that Art Ladder posted about his using the choice to get the students to agree to the syllabus or to a grade agreement that goes with his class. And that was my wake-up call, that I wasn't really using the choice to do anything really creative. I was just doing just a little bit of feedback or a quick poll or something like that. And so that's when I really started thinking about the idea that all of the modules, I was just using them in the ways that they were blatantly made for, and not really thinking about anything creative and other ways of making things work for my class. This will allow the instructor to track who has and has not answered, so that you can go back and contact those students. And this could be, like we said, a syllabus or grade agreement, but also changes in dates for an assignment or a paper, or maybe that you're supposed to meet somewhere for field work and you have to change the date or the time. This way you make sure that all of the students have the information and can contact anybody that just hasn't seen it yet. Here again is that sheet that I told you about. So the one that we're going to create, we're going to allow the choice to be updated, yes. Allow more than one choice to be selected, no, we just want one this time. Answers listed horizontally or vertically, probably horizontally, unless I get really wordy with one and need extra space. Limit the number of users who can answer each answer. Nope, don't need to do that. Are we going to publish the results? No, only the teacher really needs to see this. Do we want to call them for unanswered users? Oh, definitely, yes. I want to know who hasn't answered so that I can contact them and let them know what's going on. And I'm not going to worry about restricting access or setting completions for this one. So I'm going to set up my screen sharing. Just give me a second here. And we're going to go in, and I'm just going to take you very quickly through the steps to do this. Taking a minute to give me the little boxes that say, do you want to run it? Oh, there they are. Oh, another second over here. Okay. You should be able to see my screen sharing. If there's anybody who can't, please let me know. This is my Moodle class. I've already got editing turned on. I did a few things ahead to make it easier in case the my bandwidth was a little slow or something. It shouldn't be, but I've had some problems. So I turn editing on, just like everything else. Go to add an activity. I want to pick up the choice and click add. And that's going to give me the edit settings page for this activity. And just like on all the other modules, this is going to, the choice name is what's going to show up on the course page, and then the description is my question. This is where I put the question, but I also, for you newbies, I want you to realize that it is a regular editing box for Moodle. It has all of those nice tools up here, so we can put in anything that we need to put in, like a picture, a graph, even a video, an audio file, anything like that we can do in this. Oops, that's what I get for talking and typing. I'm not good at that. Read, the syllabus, and answer the options below. And if it's fairly short, what you're putting in here, then you can just copy and paste it in there. You know, be careful if you're in Word and use the little W there. Where is it? So that you don't, oh, it's not on this one, never mind. Or run it through a text document so that you don't. Yeah, thanks, Joshua. You're right. It is gone, but you can always run it through Notepad or something like that to make sure that you're not actually bringing in the HTML. They say it'll clean it up. Okay. I haven't played enough with it, pulling stuff in to do that, so I'll have to see. It is still, the last time I looked, it was still in the tiny MCE. Okay. I'm going to just highlight your syllabus is here. Click on the link at the top, just like I would do in any editing box, and load a file there so the students don't have to go looking for it, and upload it. And then, of course, it'll get the nice little highlighted link there when we save this. You know, you don't want to get it really, really long. Students don't seem to have much patience for stuff that's very, very long. So if your syllabus is long, you might want to do the the link instead of actually copying and pasting it there. I'm going to display horizontally. Am I going to allow the choice to be updated? I'm going to say yes on this, because if they answer that they have some questions, I want them to change it when they come and meet with me and understand it. Are we going to allow more than one choice to be selected? Not on this one. Do we want to limit the number of responses allowed? Not on this one. So I will say my first option is I have read and understand. And then on the second one, I've read the syllabus, but have questions. And because I used to work with middle school students, I will say it is my responsibility to meet with my instructor. Sorry, I have to do that. I worked with middle school for 4 years. And we can always add more fields if we need more. If we were going to set limits, under each question it says limit, and you can set them right there. Availability would be if we want to set opening and ending dates, which we're not going to. Here's our results. It defaults to do not publish results to students. If I have it set on that, it's not going to let me change the privacy of results because you don't need to. If I did change it, then it would let me either choose anonymous, or full results with names. I'm going to change it back because I don't want them to see it. They don't need to on this particular one. And yes, I want to show a column for unanswered so I can tell who hasn't answered it yet. Common module settings, that's where we would have groups. If we wanted to do groups with this, I would just suggest, so far what I've been reading in the forums is they still haven't fixed the problem they were having if they had groups and they tried to limit the number of answers on the questions with the groups. And so I wouldn't do that right now until they've figured that out. But you can do the limits when you don't have groups engaged, and it should work just fine. And we're not going to worry about restricting access or activity completion. I'm going to save and display. And there we have it. As an instructor, I have up here, since there's nothing showing at all, view 0 responses. I'm going to go ahead and make one. This is another nice thing about the choice, is this is a place where also the teacher can weigh in, because if you go and look, I am also listed in there too. Anyone who's registered in the class is listed in there and can answer, except for those suspended users or inactive users if you say you don't want to include them. I really like that part of it. Also, when you do that, oh, and I did it. This is why I usually I didn't put to show the unanswered people on any of the others in here, is because it's about 300 people long. So I don't usually do that. At the bottom of this, though, is where the buttons are, where you can download the data if you want. Also, if somebody is not allowed to make changes and they say, oh, I picked the wrong one, please, can I change it? You can click on the little box here, go down to the very bottom of this response page as a teacher and delete that response, and that will put them back in just as if they had never answered it. Okay, are there any questions on creating the choice itself? Okay, I'm going to take out my screen sharing. And I did want to show, for those of you who haven't used it before, what the publishing looks like. You saw a little bit of it. That was one with the name on it. When it's anonymous, then you're going to get just a bar graph with the choices over here and then information about how many choices were made of each one. And if you choose to publish these, it can be after the response or when the choice closes, or even before the response. Once in a while, there's a reason to have it there where students can see it before they make their choice. If you select do not publish like I did, then you're the only one who's going to see it. Okay, and here is the one with, it should have the names on it, but I whited them out because there were a couple of people names there of people that I know. But here's the column for not yet answered, and then as they answer, it moves across. This particular one, we put it up that they could see it at all times. So here's our question, here's the answers, and then they can see the columns. Once in a while, that's really nice to have when students are planning an activity. Okay, when trying to think about how to kind of categorize some of these uses that were in the forum and that we've come up with since, I tried to just think of some different uses. A lot of these are going to kind of overlap. It'd be a little bit of 2 or 3 different things sometimes, but I was just trying to get away of really thinking about different ways that you might want to use it. The categories I have are educational objectives, polling or voting, tracking, data, and signing up. Now the educational ones are the ones I think that we use the most for feedback and seeing what students know. We mostly think about the classroom use or the course use, but I want to also have you realize that they can also be used site-wide for things that the administration needs to know. Also, organizations within the school, if they have their own Moodle page, they are able to go ahead and use the choice and some of the other things in order to make things happen faster. This could be also athletic teams. Our honors organization had a page at Clark University when I worked there, and they used a lot of things there to help them do their job better. Educational objectives, we've kind of talked about stimulating, thinking about a topic. This could be something that you make up before the class and have the students take it either before or right when they get to class, just to get them thinking about what you might be learning about. Also, though, too, is this is a nice kind of quick question as you're going through and learning a topic over several days, of trying to make the students think deeper or get a different point of view of the topic as well. So not just for the first part, but for as you go along to try to keep them going. And along with that goes the quick pre-assessment or post-assessment of a vital concept. Those are kind of no-brainers for a lot of people, those first two. Those are ones that we think of when we think of the choice a lot. Also, don't forget that it could be to a necessary pre-concept to what you're going to work with. Say, if you have to work with some students and maybe you're not sure that they really understand fractions very well, you could ask a question about fractions and kind of get an idea if they're just totally not understanding what that is, because they need to know fractions before you start teaching them decimals. Things like that. Yes, A feedback after the activity is very helpful. You're right. And picking what group to be in, Joshua, too. Yep, that's very, very helpful. That's one of the ones that we have in here. So, and both of those. So you guys are doing well. Whoops. Also, introductions, especially in online classes, but even in high school and college classes that are blended classes or have an online component, sometimes there's no time in class to really get to know each other. And when people connect with people, get to know them a little bit, what their interests are and things, it just makes them more excited to be in class and more engaged in what's going on. So I think it's really, really important. And again, this is a place where the teacher can also put in their input as well. They need to get to know you as a teacher as well as getting to know each other too. And also online engagement and data is working with what you've been learning. This particular one was a study on learning styles, and then students should vote on it to say what they found out their learning styles were. This gives the students the opportunity to compare and contrast their answers and think about it, but it could also be the start of a forum discussion. So they've done this first, and then you start the forum, and they can talk about what they learned and what kind of impact it made on them, and even delve deeper into what they've been studying. It also gives a chance to collect data for student activities. If you have something you want to do with the students and you want the data from the students themselves, and if you don't have a lot of questions, if you have a lot of questions, you could use the feedback activity or the questionnaire. But for just one or two questions, the choice is going to go really fast. You download the data, and then people can play with it in Excel. Also, feedback on what they've been learning. This is like the postmortem feedback on an activity that you talked about, Ochi. It can be a self-assessment of the learning, especially with younger students, if it's anonymous, so people aren't going to tease them and they don't have to show that to anybody that they don't know, but they could say, yes, I understand it, I think I understand it, kind of understand it, or I don't have a clue. Okay, could be your answers. But it can be feedback that way. It can also be feedback on a video that you used. If it was a video, I would go ahead and put the video right in the question, let the students watch it, and then they answer the question down below. It looks almost like a quiz that way, but it gets done. They don't have to, again, they don't have to go to different places to take care of it. And yep, sometimes we don't want people to see that we're not sure of ourselves. You're right. Also, that terrible day when you have a lot to cover in class, and that's the day that they decide to do a fire drill, so you lose 15 minutes out of class. If there's something that you didn't get done in class, you can give it to the students, tell them to go in and look at their chapter on this particular question, and it's going to be in the Moodle class, and then they have to answer it for homework, and it's really easy to set it up that way. They won't get graded, but it's there. Now, yeah, lockdown drills are like that too, Joshua, you're right. Next category is polling. Now, as you're going to see, we kind of already done some of that, but I want to talk about some other issues with actual polling. Again, this can be made before class and taken in class, or you can actually make one in class if you've been presenting something or the students have been discussing it and you're not sure if it's really clear to them what it means. You can make up a quick choice for them to do and get an idea. Just like with we used to have classroom clickers that we could use. Or I like this even better because I can get back at the data if I want. The one thing, though, I would suggest is if you're going to do a lot of that, making them in class, is go ahead and build yourself a couple of them that are really, quote, templates, unquote, which have all the settings put in them as far as what kind of publishing you're going to do, if it's going to be anonymous or not, things like that, just all in it. Then you can hide that in your class, and if you have to do it on the fly like that, you can click on it, duplicate it, change the name, put in your question, put in your answers, and unhide it and save it, and it's ready to go, and you don't have to remember, okay, oh wow, did I forget to put publish to students after it, or however. Just have it all set up and ready to go if you're going to do much of that. You can put, like I told you before, you can put images in there, but also this can be used with a lot of younger students too. I taught preschool, kindergarten, first grade, actually all the way up through 8th grade at different times, and you'd be surprised how much doing things like this will help those younger students learn to read and also give them a voice. This particular one, I use tables, and I will say I use the tiny MCE for this, but it can be done if you're very good at HTML in Auto, and they are working on getting the tables into the Auto. But I use tables so that the pictures and the titles would match exactly, and then the students could come down and choose which one they wanted to answer down here. It also has a little audio file that will read the directions to the students if there's some students in class that still aren't reading. I do also, we could at one time use pictures and audio files and even short videos in the answers, and that's something that we can't do as easily right now, but it is possible. At the end of this presentation, which will be in the iMoot page, there is a list of helpful links, and one of them is the one that shows how to use some HTML and a website with the pictures and audio files on them in order to get them into the answers if that's something that you want to do. It's there. I haven't tried it yet. I just discovered it the other day, so I can't tell you whether it's as hard as it looks or not. And you can do elections, student elections, or you can poll students on different things that you need to do. You're going to need to make one choice for each office, an anonymous setup, show results after close, and yay, no ballot counting at all. You don't have to count ballots. Now, you could have a course set up if it's students' elections for students, and if you have them in cohorts, you could pull the cohorts into that class very easily. Or choice is one of the modules that you can set up on the front page of the course and use it there. As long as you're sure your faculty is not going to do any voting on those students, you can go ahead and set it up there. And you set it up first on the front page, and then you have to go into the permissions in the administration block and tell it that you want authenticated user on the front page to have permissions in there, and then it should go really smoothly for you. Once students log into the site, they're able to get in there and work on that. Also, another thing is voting for course direction. Yes, 2.8 does have the multiple selection choice in there. Yeah, Gareth, when it's one you don't use too much, when you're off worrying about other things, like themes and things, yeah, it's kind of hard to keep up on everything else. But I'm jealous of what you know about themes. I wish I knew more. Um, Students voting on course directions say we've had 3 snow days and school was canceled this month, and we got 2 more things that we've got to do in our blended class. So we're here one day and we work online the other day. Which one do the students want to spend the most time with when we're face to face? You can make up a choice for them to vote on that and then go that way. Gives them a little more feedback, also gives you some information about which are the ones that most of the students are feeling the most uncomfortable with. Okay, another category is tracking. We talked about the agreement already. That's there. Any kind of agreement, any kind of changes that we have to be made, that we want to make sure that the students get the information. Now for the faculty and the staff of the school, we could have one that's for Memo Read. So you send an email either with the memo information in it and a link to this choice where they can say that they've read it, or you can just send them the link and say you need to go to this and read this and answer the choice and have all the information in the choice itself. And then they mark it off and you can check in and see if there's people that somebody needs to contact and tell them to go ahead and read that and get their choice marked. Another one is trips and events. Oh, sometimes when you're doing trips with people, not just with the students, sometimes with the faculty too, when you're going to a conference, there's so many details. And there's some of them that they do have choices about. And we can use the choice to track some of those. Again, only one question per, but it can be really helpful just to have it there. And okay, say there's too many students for the bus, so we're going to take a van as well. We can have a choice to who wants to ride on the bus, who wants to ride on the van. The ones who get their choice in first get to be where they want to be. At a conference, we're having chicken or vegetarian for lunch. I need to know for the registration, which one do you want? A quick choice will do it. I can just go down the list to make those reservations. So you can tell I'm usually the one who gets stuck with that. No matter what group is going, if I'm anywhere near it, they always have me do those things. So that's why I got really excited when I started thinking about this. For adults, not children, but adults, are you going to use your own transportation, or are you going with us in the university vehicle? And sometimes there's details on the housing reservations that you need to check with people too. Now that we have the ability to do multiple choice in that they can choose several different ones, that housing detail reservations might be really helpful because you can put several different things in that particular choice. Now the memo read, you could have, when I wish I had this when I was a head teacher, which means I was a principal and a teacher at the same time. I would have had a course set up for my faculty and staff that was just things that I needed to do with them, and I would have put the choice there inside the class for that. It doesn't have to be site-wide. And you can register them too if you have done any work with cohorts. You can have your faculty and your staff in a separate cohort from your students, so it's easy to just pull that cohort registration into your class that you're using for keeping track. Okay, another one with students is a research project or anything that the students need to keep track of, that they've done all the steps. This particular one is one I've done in the past, and we just had the students be able to go in and change, and the dot would move along as they finished each one. But now that they can select multiple ones, we can actually have them choose which things they've done. Like this one, oh, I skipped the outline and wrote my rough draft, which actually is something I do. I write a rough draft and then write my outline from it and figure out what I need to change and then write a real rough draft I have to turn in. But then they can move through this. This is anonymous because only the student and the teacher needs to see it. So if the student goes in, they're going to see this just the way it is with their check marks, and then they can go in and change them. If you notice, these boxes, when they get to put in these multiple options, they are square and they have a check mark in them. The other choices that you've seen, if they can't do multiple, it's the little round circle with the little radio button in it. So that helps students understand that they can pick more than one, but I usually try to put it in the directions as well. And it gives the teacher a chance to look and see who is still progressing. It can be used for all kinds of checklists. Second to the last, sorry, data. And we talked a little bit about this before, that sometimes we need to collect data on students. One of the things suggested in the forum in 2010 was that this school had a lot of students, it seemed like, that met off of campus or worked off of campus. So when they would try to change their degree specializations and things, they were having a hard time keeping track of it because students couldn't always make the trip in to change the paperwork. This way, they had a site-wide choice that they could use, and they would just go in there and change it. It could be set up so that the advisors could see it, so that they could double check as well and see who's on their lists and if they have other students that they need to see. Another thing is we do so many things at school to try to make things available to everybody. And I know this example was a few years back, but it was in the forum as well. But they were actually doing several different formats of their video files. And so they finally did a choice and they listed all the video files and found out that one of them nobody was using, so they could just quit making that one. Nowadays, most of the time the MP4s would be fine and would actually play in Moodle, but if there's anything like that you're doing multiple things of, you might want to find out if students are really using it. I would think too this would be a good place to, other kinds of things. We have these things available for students in case they need them. Are they really using them at all for the class? And this might give you a quick overview. If there's only one question, which of these materials are you using, then you can have a lot of different answers in there and get some really good data. Also, preferences for new programs or activities. This gives your stakeholders a voice and also lets them know what's being considered. Sometimes, for some reason, people don't always read their emails or don't always read to the end of the big newsletter that comes out and don't realize that some of these things are going on. When you create a choice that they can go into and do some looking at and voicing their opinion, sometimes you'll get more people actually ready to sign on and work with it. Also, to measure interest in the new programs. If you're trying to create something new and find out, what, people really don't want football, they would rather have lacrosse, then that answers a big question for you. Also, if you did set up, say, a faculty course, you could also set up groups within there so that with the faculty in a separate group for each department, and then you would be able to track some of the differences in their choices so that if you needed to, you could do some communicating with the different departments. Last category, signing up. And as we already suggested, registering for groups. I think Joshua was the one who mentioned that one. They can choose anything you want to put out there that's a group kind of activity. This particular one is for debate groups, but it can be study groups, it could be interest groups, it could be a lot of different things that they, or who wants to make a presentation on Monday, kind of thing, although we're going to talk more about that too. But you can limit the number of people that can register for each of these, and the instructor can then quickly take those lists and add them into the group part of their Moodle course. The choice itself does not actually form the groups, but there is a plug-in if you have admin status or you're really friendly with your admin that they might want to check out if you do a lot of this kind of thing, or if you had a lot of students that you have to fit into groups, that might be a possibility. And signing up and scheduling now. Okay, this particular one, signing up for activities. I used to have, when I was head teacher, we had a really small cafeteria where we had to do all of our assemblies, and we could only fit half the school in there at a time. So I would try to remember, okay, who has music in the morning on Monday and who has it in the afternoon on Monday, so they don't have to miss music, or whatever. If I had had this, I would have just put the times out there, told them what the assembly was, and let the teachers pick. Which one do you want to go to? And again, you can limit the numbers so that you don't get the whole school in one. Another thing is choosing presentation days and times. They can sign up for their presentations. This particular one, I limited the responses to just 2, listed all the dates that they could have their presentations on. I actually said that I would publish this all the time so that they can go in and look and see who's going to present on which day. That might be helpful if there's a couple of students who their presentations kind of complement each other and they want to present themselves. They don't have to come talk to me and then say, and say, well, we want to present together. Which day is there still some open? It's right there for them. We don't have to worry about it. And then the teacher can download the results if they need to as well. Although I tend to just leave them online where I can look at them. Okay, there's our helpful links page. If there's the basics of the documentation on choice for 2.9. And if you have an earlier version, just change that 9 to whatever it is in yours, and that'll take you to the correct page. And there's that creative use forum that we did. And also here's the link about how to use a URL and a little bit of HTML to get things into your options if you want to. Does anybody have, and here's my thank you to the people that I know for sure. I used their information, and if I didn't get anybody in there, I apologize. Do you guys have any other questions or ideas that you want to share or anything like that?
Hi, Paula. Gareth. Just while waiting for some questions to come in, thank you very much. There's so much there that I certainly didn't know. There's lots more to pick up with, so much more to the choice module than there used to be. So thank you very much for a really informative presentation and your time and taking the time to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gareth. It's my pleasure. I really enjoy presenting all of these things to you guys. I have to admit, because I'm an ex-preschool kindergarten teacher for half of my teaching career, I do tend to collect things a little bit. So you get to see my collection. Everybody, you're very, very welcome. I hope that I stimulated some interest in using the choice. Thanks, Stuart. And you all have a great time watching the rest of the iMoot. If you have any other questions too, I will be watching the forum in my iMoot if there's anything that you have any questions about or want any information about.